God help us, they are still out there. Those were the last words in my grandfather's diary, which was found open on the table at which he shot himself in 2019. I was the one who found his body. A hole blasted through his head with his old army pistol. I can still see the scene to this day. Blood dripping down the sides of the desk. The metallic scent on the air. I don't think it will ever leave me. But that's not why I'm writing this. After I had grieved, that sentence began filling me with a morbid curiosity. They are still out there. Who? What? What's out there? My grandfather had always been a quiet man who kept to himself and spoke little about his past. He had served in the army of the USSR in his youth, and I always assumed he kept silent about it out of guilt in being part of one of the cruelest regimes in the history of the world. After translating and reading his diary, I know better. That's what I'm here to tell you about. I know what he was keeping quiet about and why he took his life in 2019. It's all in the diary he kept during his time in the army. The first few months he writes about are mundane, mostly detailing his training and his first deployment. What is clear from this part is that he was a patriotic man who had no trouble following orders, a soldier who kept his mouth shut and his head down. That's probably what got him where he ended up. 6 months after his training, he was transferred to a base in the Ural Mountains he had never heard of. And that's where things started to get strange. This is his history. September 2nd, 1958. This place is like no base I have ever been stationed at. It's cut into the sides of the mountains themselves, almost wholly concealed and practically undetectable from the outside. We are not allowed any communication with the rest of the world. The base is built in 5 descending levels, going down to the roots of the mountain. Each level is accessed by a single tunnel, with airlocks and security stations connecting them. Without authorization, you cannot leave that level you are currently in. Our commander is a hard man named Sergei Dyatlov. He talks little and is ruthless in disciplining his soldiers. I have only seen him once on my arrival here. He gave us our standing orders, which must be obeyed at all times. These orders are what give me pause about this whole situation. They seem ludicrous, but several men have already been punished for not keeping them in mind. If any staff member acts disoriented or follows you to a secluded part of the base, sound the alarm immediately. You are authorized to use lethal force. They do not desist. If you find yourself in a place you do not remember entering, sound the alarm immediately. Lie face down on the floor with your hands on your head. But the strangest order is the last. If you are stationed at level 5 and the screaming stops, sound the alarm immediately. You are authorized to use lethal force until relief. I don't know what to think of this. I wish to serve my country, but these orders fill me with a strange dread I have never felt before. September 5th, 1958. Today I befriended another soldier stationed here. His name was Yuri Ivanovich, a private like me. He seemed talkative and friendly, an unusual trait among soldiers stationed here, and he was eager to talk once I told him I was new at the base, We were discussing the strangeness of the place and the secrecy surrounding it, when I summoned the courage to ask him about what our purpose here was. Yuri, I began carefully. Do you know anything about what this place is supposed to be? What is level 5? And what is that screaming the order mentions? Yuri's smile faded. He leaned in closer to me. It's best if you don't ask about level 5, Michael, he said under his breath. Nothing good ever comes from talking about that place. Keep your head down. You might be lucky enough to never do go down there. My skin crawled. Yuri was usually quite amiable man, but now he was deadly serious. What's level 5 though? Have you ever been set down there? I haven't, no, he answered. Thank God, but I know someone who has. What happened to him? I asked, realizing I too was instinctively whispering. He came back, but he was never the same. Yuri answered sadly. He's been changed ever since. Even the fact he came back is not common. Many soldiers sent to level 5 never return. Did he ever tell you about what he saw there? Only one thing. 5 years, he told me. They have been screaming in the caves for 5 years. Yuri will never tell me more. And left me at my post with more questions than answers. September 11, 1958. Yesterday we were sent on patrol in the area surrounding the base. The surrounding mountains are an ice wasteland, and I was freezing within minutes of setting foot outside. Yuri was in our unit. He regained his usual happy demeanor since our conversation, and it seemed almost untroubled by the beating cold. Our orders were simple. If we meet anyone, we were to make sure they came nowhere near the mountain. We were to remain hidden if possible. If we found any hikers going in the direction of our base, we were authorized to use any necessary measures to dissuade them. I hoped it wouldn't come to that. We only came across a single group of travelers, and thankfully they were going in a direction which would take them away from our base. We departed shortly after, making sure there weren't any threat. Wherever it is we are guarding here, it is so dangerous that even the lives of Soviet citizens are worth the price to pay for keeping it sacred. September 14th, 1958. Today Yuri introduced me to the soldier who had been to level 5. It was a complete accident that all 3 of us were stationed at the same car post. Yuri, always talkative, took no time in starting a conversation to make the hours go by faster. The soldier's name was Ivan. He's a thin man with nervous eyes that flick from side to side constantly. He talks in an anxious whisper. Yuri wasn't lying. Wherever Ivan saw at level 5, it has left him changed forever. Yuri wouldn't let me talk with him about his time there, but I didn't even want to once I saw the man's state of mind. It would be cruel to remind him of something so obviously traumatizing. But even so, I left the meeting more anxious about this place than before. Ivan wouldn't stop whispering to himself. He was quiet under his breath, but I made one sentence out clearly enough. 5 years. 5 years. 5 years. It's been inside them in the dark for 5 years. The next few months go by with not much interesting happening. My grandfather spent most of his time either out on patrol in the surrounding areas or on guard duty in various parts of the base. He is never sent down to level 5 and doesn't inquire more about it. The next interesting entry, it is in mid-December. December 15th, 1958. I will never forget this day. We were on guard duty, checking the staff going from level 4 to level 3. It had been a long shift. 5 hours so far, with 3 more to go. It was nearing midnight when things started going to shit. It was a quiet moment, and the corridor was empty except for me and you when the man appeared. He was a researcher, nor a soldier, balding, with a pair of spectacles and a round, red face. He was strangely hunched over, dragging his feet and looking at the floor. I figured he was simply tired after a long shift. "Papers, please, comrade," I asked him as he came up to the post. He looked up at me and I stared back. His eyes were red and bloodshot, darting from side to side, just like Ivan's. He mumbled something under his breath and made to walk past me. I stepped into his path. He hadn't given me any identification. I couldn't let him pass by. "Comrade, I need to see your authorization before you can leave level 4. The man was looking at the ground again. Now he was closer to me. I could see him shivering. He was mumbling something under his breath. I leaned closer in to hear him. "They can't get out. They can't get out. You have left them there for 5 years. 5 years. Back away slightly, raising my firearm. You could see something was wrong. And aimed his gun at the man's head. "Comrade," he said loud and slowly, "please give us your authorization." The man looked at him, wide-eyed. "Have you been to level 5, soldier?" He asked in a hoarse whisper. Have you heard the trapped man scream?" "I need you to lay down right now," he said. I said, panic rising in me. No amount of military training could prepare me for one of our own to behave like this. You circled around, moving behind the man. The researcher didn't seem to notice. His attention totally fixed on me. He stumbled towards and I aimed my gun in nerveless fingers. "They can never get out," he said, his voice trembling. "If any men are trapped in level 5, we will get them out," I said, trying to sound soothing and calm even as my heart hammered in my chest. The men?" the researcher mumbled. Then he laughed. No, the men are trapped, but it's not them that can never be free. They are not alone in the caves. Look me dead in the eyes. It's the things in them that can never escape." He lunged forward, making the run past me. A gunshot rang out through the corridor. The researcher crumbled on the floor, blood leaking from his chest. Commander Sergei Yokontov stood behind Yuri, a smoking pistol in his hand. His face was twisted in barely contained fury. I snapped to attention. Yuri quickly followed suit. "What is your first standing order, Private?" he asked, walking face to face with us, looking at me. "To sound the alarm if any staff member appears disoriented or follows us. We are allowed to use lethal force if they do not comply with our commands, sir." "And did this man comply, Private?" "He did not, sir." "Then why did you not sound the alarm? Why was this man still alive when I found you? You forget your orders. That can't be tolerated in this space. There is a punishment for disobedience, Private." He smiled cruelly. "You will both report to level 5 tomorrow and at noon." My blood ran cold. Yuri stepped up to Sergei. Permission to speak, sir. Granted. The blame is mine. I told Private Mikhail Sidorov to hold fire. I have overstepped my rank and disobeyed standing orders. I opened my mouth in shock. Yuri was lying. He was protecting my skin at his own risk. He shot a quick glance and shook his head almost imperceptibly. I shut my mouth. He said, the situation was your fault then? Sergei asked him slowly. Yes, sir. Then you will report to level 5 tomorrow, alone. Now continue in your task, and clean up team will arrive shortly to dispose of this body. With that, he walked off. I turned to Yuri once Sergei was out of earshot. Are you mad? I am to blame too. You can take the fall for this. You know that level 5 did to Ivan and to the researcher. You can't possibly... Keep calm, Mikhail. Yuri cut me off. I could tell he was trying to remain casual, managing so with great difficulty. There is no reason for two of us to go down there. If we can't avoid it, I will be fine, don't worry. It can't be as bad as everyone will have you believe. He smiled worriedly. Besides, this way I can tell you about what's down there when I get back. The rest of our guard shift carried out in silence. Yuri then departed to his bunk to catch some sleep before he has to report to level 5. But I cannot sleep. I cannot stop thinking about what could be waiting down there and what my friend might come back like, if he comes back at all. December 16th, 1958. Yuri has not yet returned from level 5. It's almost midnight. I still haven't seen any sign of him. December 17, 1958. Still no sign of Yuri. I can't sleep. I stay awake for hours wondering if he's alright. December 19, 1958. Yuri still hasn't come back. What is happening down there? December 20, 1958. Today I couldn't take it anymore. When my guard tour ended this evening, I managed to catch Commander Dyatlov while he was on his way to the officer's quarters. Permission to speak, sir. My voice hoarse with trepidation of this conversation. He looked at me, a sort of apathetic curiosity coming over his face. He glanced down at my name tag. Granted, Private Sidorov. Sir, 5 days ago, my friend, Private Yuri Ivanovich, was sent to level 5. He hasn't come back since then. I'm worried about him. Sergei looked in my eyes, his face unreadable. What do you wish from me, Private? I want to know whether Yuri is alive, sir. Whether he's alright. He said. My mouth was dry. My throat clenched as Sergei looked at me. A all too familiar anger building behind his eyes. You are aware that discussing our work here is not recommended. Aren't you, Private? I have gone too far to back out now. I could only press on. Yes, sir, I am. Then listen well to me, Michael Sidorov. Whether your friend is or isn't alive is not of your concern to me, or our task here. Our only job is to keep level 5 secure. That is what we are here to do. And I will gladly set every man in this bay to their death if it means that task is carried out. Sergei's voice was getting louder and louder. He was shouting at the top of his lungs. His spittle flying into my face completely unknowingly had touched on a subject which I shouldn't have never opened with him. Sir, I began trying to apologize. Sergei wouldn't have it. What's down there can never come to the light of day. Do you understand? If your friend shot himself after what he heard there, it is a low price to pay. Never forget that. With that, it turned and stormed off. I may have made a huge mistake today. December 21st, 1958. If I never write again in this diary, know that I have either killed myself or I am too changed to ever write my memories down again. This morning we received our orders for day. As usual, guard duty, maintenance or patrol. That's all I have ever done here. Not today, though. The officer read down the list, reciting the names of duties for the first part of the day. I was always at the end of the list, and only started to pay attention toward the end of his monologue. Dyatlov, guard duty, level 4. 0800. Kuznetsov, guard duty, level 4. 0800. Kuznetsov, patrol, 1000. He suddenly stopped, just before my name. His eyes tightened as he squinted down on his list, as if surprised by what he read there. He spoke in his tranquil voice. Michael Sidorov, report to level